Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront updates and some very exciting news for Battlefront 2. Probably the most exciting news we've had for quite a while, because they were not lying when they said that the community transmission for June 7th, which is today, is massive, and it truly is. So this is gonna be a long video, and I'm sure you've already read the title of this video, and therefore you know what kind of exciting stuff you have to look forward to. But I'm gonna start, as always, from the beginning of the transmission and walk you through all of it, and well, let's see what's in store for us in June and beyond. So the community transmission is called "Where Are Those Droidekas?" So we are indeed finally getting those Droidekas that were hinted slash accidentally leaked, I guess you could say, last year in, I think it was September or August. And now we are officially getting them, and I think it's kind of funny how they're using that screenshot that caused the crash speeder, ordeal last year as the actual header of the community transmission. But starting off, it was around this time last year when we first announced that Battlefront 2 would be heading into the Clone Wars. We've since been to Geonosis, new reinforcements, and heroes have joined the ranks, and the war between Republic and Separatists continues to rage across the galaxy in capital supremacy. The Clone War doesn't end here. Starting this month on June 26th to be precise, we have more Clone Wars content coming to Battlefront 2 as part of Where Are Those Droidekas update. First of all, of course, we have capital supremacy on Naboo. Something that we previously knew, but they'd also add some details here saying when you deploy onto Naboo, you will notice that it's set at dusk. The embered sky adds a greater layer of atmosphere to the city. Alongside the dusk setting, you'll notice that the city streets are showing signs of previously fought battle and skirmishes. Romantic ambience meets war-torn streets. The entirety of the battle takes place within the city streets itself, making Naboo a great location for those wanting to experience urban conflict from within the Star Wars universe. So that probably means that we will not be fighting within the palace, something that I think is kind of expected. I thought maybe they could have one command post in there, but I think it makes sense to have 5 of them outside because it's still a huge map. And then moving on to the really interesting stuff, the new reinforcements. First of all, we have the Droideka. If there is one reinforcement that we know is high on our community's wish list, it's the Droideka. Of course, we have a bit of history with these, and while we won't focus on the past, let's just say that your passionate enthusiasm for these rollies was not missed. Obviously referring to when they accidentally added a Droideka model to a screenshot back in August last year, and the community went crazy when they realized that no, we're not getting Droidekas. It was someone who made a mistake adding that, basically. One of the most feared droids finally joins the Separatist army, wielding twin blasters and personal deflector shield generators, making them a formidable foe for anyone that faces off against them in combat. Destructive weaponry and a powerful shield aren't their only characteristics, as their ability to transform and swiftly relocate has become synonymous with them. So, going over their abilities here. First of all, the primary weapon is the twin blaster cannons. Short-range heavy weapons that deal significant damage, and the Droideka can maintain full control of the blasters regardless of whether they are stationary or they are advancing upon their target. Unless you're rolling, of course, at which point you can shoot. The first ability is the wheel form, and you will then obviously roll up as a ball and you become a lot faster. And you can activate this both by hitting the ability button or by pressing the sprint button, which also further increases its movement speed while in wheel form. Additionally, to cancel the ball mode, you can either press the ability button again, activate the energy shield button, or hold down the fire button. The second ability is overload, and they say that sharing the ability with its fellow enforcers, the Droideka can overload its primary blasters. So this confirms that it's gonna be in the Enforcer class. They're not creating another new class to fit it into, and I guess that makes sense. We still don't know if that means that they are removing the B2 droid on the Clone Wars era. I highly doubt it, because there's not really one map where the Droideka fits better than the B2, but they both fit on most maps as they are well present on most planets in the movies. So I would imagine that they will probably keep them and have maybe 2 Enforcers, as it, although I'm not playing the B2 a lot, would suck if they remove that Enforcer. And the third ability, of course, the energy shield, which works as a secondary health pool for the Droideka that the combatants can first shoot at before it goes to the normal health pool. The shield does go into cooldown if it is destroyed or if it's manually toggled off. And again, if you deploy the energy shield while in wheel form, it will automatically trigger the transformation into destroyer mode before the shield activates, and vice versa, the shield automatically toggles off when going into wheel form. And then we have the second reinforcement coming to the Galactic Republic. And no, it's actually not clone commandos as a lot of us thought, but it's the TX-130 tank. So they're actually getting a vehicle to counter the AATs with. The TX-130 will provide the Galactic Republic with an armored fighting vehicle that is both quick and defensive. The speed allows the TX-130 to enter into battle, deal damage, and then make its escape, a great balance between agility and power. And this truly does bring back so many memories from the original Battlefront 2 games where you could play these, and it's gonna be really nice to have a proper counter for the AAT. I don't think the AATs are a massive problem right now. You can pretty easily flank around them and kill them, but having an actual vehicle on the same level as the AAT is gonna be really interesting, and I'm curious if they're gonna be equally powerful or if one will have the upper hand. As for the abilities, the primary weapon is the laser cannons. A pair of heavy laser cannons sit upon the TX-130 and act as its primary weapon system. It does have a fixed firing line, but since you can move around quite a lot, it means that you can still quickly maneuver to ensure that enemies are within line of sight. The first ability is Laser Barrage, where you fire a short laser cannon barrage of continuous blaster fire. And during this time, the TX-130 will fire automatically for a short period of time. The ability is the perfect counter for when you encounter multiple small and fast-moving targets, such as enemy droids or speeders. Once the automatic firing sequence is complete, Laser Barrage will go into recharge state until it's ready to be fired again. So I'd imagine it might be similar to the barrage of the, well, speeder bikes, and similarly, which I think are pretty strong. And well, it's not just going to be good for small and moving targets, but it's usually good to mow down tanks as well. Ability 2, Rockets. Rockets fire in an alternate fashion from pods on each side of the TX-130. The rockets are dumb-fired, meaning that they do not lock onto enemies and fire in the direction you aim them. When firing rockets, you have the ability to fire them one at a time, or you can charge them up. When charged, by holding the fire button, the TX-130 will unleash all of the rockets in quick momentum. So this is quite interesting. It sounds like the rockets will work again a little bit like in the previous games, where you could kind of fire multiple rockets at a time, but with the added effect that you're also able to charge them up. So I think this sounds pretty interesting, and it's definitely going to be something where you've got to line up those AATs properly. Otherwise, if they just scoot a little bit sideways, they might be able to dodge your rockets. And thirdly, we have Charge Mode. When activating this ability, will toggle the primary fire into Charge Mode. While in Charge Mode, the TX-130 will gain the ability to charge up a massive charged bolt that fires simultaneously from both the left and right turrets at the expense of some maneuverability. Charge Mode is the perfect ability to use when facing a slow moving target. Charge Mode has a duration of 20 seconds but can be cancelled sooner if desired. So it does to me sound like the TX-130 will be quite powerful, but again, without testing it out, it's hard to see how it's gonna match up to that AAT. And then we actually move over to new appearances, which are also arriving in the June update. First of all, the General Skywalker appearance is indeed arriving to the game, something that people have been obviously requesting a lot since we have the General Kenobi appearance. It will be available on June 26th for either 1,000 crystals or 40,000 credits, which means that it is a epic skin. And then we move on to some new Clone Legion skins actually. So first of all, due to the diverse and commonly harsh environments the Clone Wars were fought across, tactical armor, often camouflage, was a necessity for the clone troopers to survive when their plastoid plating wasn't enough to keep them safe. Two legions that used camo most notably were the 212th Attack Battalion and the 41st Elite Corps, specifically the Recon and Scout regiments for both those legions respectively. So the 212th Recon Division was outfitted with the Angular Phase 1 ARF armor and desert camo during the Second Battle of Geonosis when the Republic invaded the retaken world. So although the images don't show the 212th Recon Division with the color, it sounds like basically they will have kind of the brown, sand colored armor together with the ARF helmet, which I think sounds really cool. I didn't actually know that was part of the 212th since they look very differently otherwise, with the orange and white and similarly. And if we move on to the second new Clone Battalion skin, we are actually getting the 41st Scout Battalion, which means that we are finally getting the Scout Troopers Phase 2 ARF armor. Something that obviously a lot of people wanted when we got the 41st initially, but now we're getting them as, I guess, again, a Scout Battalion of the 41st. So they basically having a different outfits, different armor within a battalion does make things a little bit confusing, But you can also see from these images that it looks just like the scout troopers that we see with Yoda in episode 3, so it's really cool to see that we are getting 2 new battalion skins here that I don't think a lot of people expected, since we already had the 41st and they didn't really say anything about the scout troopers previously. So the 41st will cost 40,000 credits or 1,000 crystals, and the 212th will be rare and cost 20,000 or 500 crystals. And I'm guessing they might be available in some type of bundle as well. So in short, in terms of the skins, we are getting the General Skywalker skin for Anakin, and then the 41st Scout Battalion, as well as a 212th Recon Division with the ARF helmets coming on June 26th. And as always, we'll get the full release notes closer to the actual update. So that does indeed sound like a pretty good update to me. New map for Capital Supremacy, 2 new reinforcements, and 3 new skins, or actually more skins if you count for all classes. A pretty good update if you ask me, but we are not done just yet, because they do actually have a section at the bottom called A Little Further Ahead. So they start off by saying, we've talked a bit about Capital Supremacy over the last few months. The feedback we received has been hugely valuable, as has all the discussion around the game modes in general. As we move through the summer, we plan to add new ways to play epic battles for players who want something besides traditional PvP. We'll have more to share on this later in the year. So it does indeed sound like the PvE mode that people have been asking for a very long time, and that Dennis vaguely hinted towards last year on Twitter might actually be coming, now that they've confirmed it in a CT. Obviously they don't see PvE mode, but saying not traditional PvP does make it sound like PvE, and they've definitely done a lot of work on the AI, both for Capital Supremacy and then of course for Arcade as well, so it would make a lot of sense that they did something like that. But it's exciting nevertheless that they are, as they say, looking for new ways to play epic battles and not something for traditional PvP players. Obviously, I am a PvP player, so I don't mind PvP, but I'm just happy if everyone is happy. And outside of game modes, one of the most requested content additions comes in the form of planets. Coming later this year will be a brand new planet in Battlefront 2. The colorful jungle world of Felucia will be arriving later in 2019 and is being built for Capital Supremacy. And we also get this awesome piece of concept art showing off the first look at Felucia, well, from a concept art perspective. And I gotta say, I'm very excited to see how Felucia will look in the Frostbite engine, considering that I think Felucia was pretty much fully CGI, which means that it stands a chance of actually looking better in the game than it did in the movie, considering that that movie is, well, 14 years old now. So I'm very excited to see how it's gonna look in the Frostbite engine. We can't wait to take on one of the most iconic planets of the Clone Wars era and bring it into the game. Before we get to all of that, in July we'll feature a month of weekly community quests themed around your favorite Clone Wars heroes and villains that will unlock new animated poses and VO lines for these characters. So I'm guessing those weekly community quests will be similar to what we had with Leia to unlock her Princess Leia skin. And lastly, they say we'll be back in August to talk more about new ways to play Felucia and more. As always, we're incredibly humbled by your ongoing support and passion for Battlefront 2. Please do keep all your feedback coming, and we'll see you on the streets of Theed in just a few weeks time. So that's what I call a freaking good community transmission. Exciting stuff for June, exciting stuff beyond June, and it just does sound like the game has a very bright future, and that just makes me very happy, because they are obviously putting in a lot of effort into this. And they did say that we are getting the community update video later this month, and it sounded like it was going to be like in the middle of the month, based on that post by Ben on Reddit a few weeks ago. So it's probably and hopefully not going to be something that drops the same day or after the actual update, as we might get ourselves a little sneak peek of the Droidekas and the TX-130 before the gameplay, before we can actually play them. At least I think that would be great. So this video is very long now, so I'm gonna wrap it up, but I'm very excited to hear your thoughts on this community transmission, on the June update, on the future stuff coming to the game, and what do you make of all of it? Are you happy? Is it what you wanted? Because I know I've been saying for a very long time, if they're add any more planets, I want Felucia or Coruscant, and at least I got one of those wishes granted, so I'm very happy about that. But yeah, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.